What a great pleasure it is to welcome Old Mutual to What's Next, and an absolute pleasure to have with us Celiwe Ross, who's the Director of Strategy, Sustainability, People, Public Affairs at Old Mutual. Sure, Celiwe, that's quite a lot of stuff that you've got on your hands over there, because, I mean, those are kind of three big core pillars of any organization, and especially when it comes to sustainability, people, public affairs at Old Mutual. Can you give us a 30 seconds on what you do?
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Aki, and thank you so much for having me. And you're right, it's a mouthful, and it's quite a responsibility, but also a privilege to be given the opportunity to lead in that way. The way I describe my role, Aki, is as a financial services organization, we don't make widgets or things to sell. We really sell the ideas and problem-solving abilities of people. And everything that we do is delivered through our people. So my primary responsibility is as the CHRO of the company, as the HR director. And then more than anything, it is developing strategies that people have to they have to perform against, I guess, our group strategy, which is our integrated financial services strategy. More recently, I inherited the portfolios of sustainability and public affairs, which really are about converting our internal persona, our belief, our way of doing things, how we show up to the outside world. So the entire ESG agenda of Old Mutual is under my leadership. So people, all of the sustainability matters, as well as public affairs.
Yes.
A great privilege, as I said. Big responsibility, but a great privilege.
No, it's a massive responsibility, and you know, the sustainability one especially that you've inherited, because, you know, we all know about those ESG targets for 2030 and that sort of thing is such a focal point for most organizations. And it's so great to hear that, you know, Old Mutual is such a forward-thinking organization. And I see that you're sponsoring the 2024 SingularityU South Africa event. And I'm a big fan of Singularity because they really focus on the future and they cover all of these topics that pertain exactly to what makes up your portfolio. Could you tell us a little bit more about this event, and what is this event about, and who should be attending this event, and why Old Mutual decided to sponsor this event?
No, for sure, Aki. I think Old Mutual has been on a journey for the last few years, possibly somewhat disrupted by COVID, and of course the CEO change that also does disrupt an organization that is fundamentally committed to transformation. Transformation in the South African sense, of course, that remains a key focus area for us. But I'm talking about overall organizational transformation. Next year, Old Mutual will be 180 years old. And we've seen many cycles.
What?
180 years old, Old Mutual will be.
Sure.
And it is a long legacy, long tenured company, which comes with a lot of privilege, particularly in terms of brand recognition, brand strength. But it can also have its own hang-ups. It can have things that hold you back a bit. And there's been quite a lot of thinking in ourselves as a company about who we want to become for the next 180 years, recognizing that what has made us successful before is not necessarily what's going to make us successful going forward. Just to your point around sustainability and around the articulation of Old Mutual and why singularity was so important to us. Old Mutual was founded in the 1800s by a gentleman called John Fairbairn, who took it upon himself to set up a company, a mutual insurance organization that would take care of the widows and orphans after that World War. A strapline or kind of an ethos of the company at that time was a Latin statement that says amicus certus in re incerta, which means to be a certain friend in uncertain times. And I think where Old Mutual has certainly shown up at its best has been in times of great uncertainty, whether it was in times of war and recovering from war, in the HIV outbreak and having to understand and remodel what mortality looked like in South Africa and in Africa, understanding what the impacts of that disease would be, and on insurers and on us and our risk-taking ability. Same thing with smoking and the impacts of smoking on the healthcare and well-being of people. COVID is another key time when Old Mutual showed up for our communities, for our customers, and certainly for our employees. So being the certain friend in uncertain times. And we know that post-COVID, the world has certainly become more uncertain. And our ability as an insurer to show up in that time and to really start helping the world understand risk. You can't always predict it. You can't always model it, but at least you can start to understand the scenarios under which risk shows itself. And therefore, as an insurer, start to think about the next set of products, the next set of events that you need to show up in differently. So that is something that's been common in Old Mutual through our history. And as we think about next year now.
And I guess, Celiwe, sorry to interrupt you, Celiwe, and I guess all of this is now powered by technology, because now we're living in an era of AI and, big data and analytics, and you're able to kind of predict things a little bit better in the future.
For sure. One of our big focus areas, and it happens to be in sustainability, but shows itself up more specifically in our short-term insurance business, has been in understanding climate change and the risk that comes with. You will know, as many South Africans, what's happening on the east coast of the country in terms of flooding, the fires in the Western Cape, and our understanding using all sorts of data. As you mentioned, big data is a big part of what we model against or with. And so using what has happened in weather patterns to understand the future risks that are coming. But we're understanding it both from a pricing the risk for insurance companies, but also helping communities that are vulnerable, helping to start predict where people should be settling, where those vulnerable communities could be, where do we as an organization need to show up for them and respond accordingly. So again, it's insurance, it's Old Mutual leading the charge in the newest set of risks that we're facing.
That's fascinating. Now, the event itself, well, I know what's on at the event because I'm going to be there myself, and I'm just really absolutely super excited to be attending because you've got the world's big thinkers of the future looking at all of these scenarios you just spoke about. Can you give us a sneak preview at what the event is going to be about and who you're looking forward to listening to at the event?
Yeah, there's 2 days of conferencing, of full-on content that's going to span all sorts of topics, from AI and the ethics of AI to technology. We'll be talking about sustainability and sustainable food, which is something that I'm quite interested in. And then lastly, we'll be talking about education and the advances in education, another big focus area for us as Old Mutual, particularly in financial education, but education more broadly too. And as you said, world-class speakers from all over the world, some of them Singularity faculty and some of them faculty or speakers from an Old Mutual context, some of them other global speakers from the African continent, etc. I think the great thing and the exciting thing about Singularity in the summit is, one, it's to challenge our thinking about what's possible. There is a gentleman coming to speak who has started, it's another unicorn from a Silicon Valley perspective, where he was looking at alternative proteins, and he's now manufactured the first lab-produced egg that looks and feels like an egg, but it is completely synthetically produced from plant proteins, and really challenging how we consume proteins as human beings. Instead of eating animal proteins, how can we consume more plant proteins? And is really pushing the envelope in that regard. There's also tons of speakers on AI. AI is topical for all of us, whether you are a ChatGPT user or not, but how it's disrupting workplaces, human interaction and the like. So quite a few topics on ethics, but we've also on AI, my apologies. We've also got a board member of ours, but also faculty at Wits Business School, Brian Armstrong, who's going to be talking about the ethics of AI and what it means in terms of bias, in terms of new jobs, new roles, in terms of human and robotic interaction and the like. So that's going to be quite interesting. Lots of technology speakers and the like. The idea is to really challenge us about what's possible. And then I think to inspire is and reimagine the future, reimagine what's possible, and reimagine ourselves in this constantly evolving world that we find ourselves in.
Gee, that's, and you know what, actually yesterday, I just got the first print of Brian Armstrong's book on the ethics of AI, and I actually started reading it last night, and it's absolutely fascinating. The AI is so complex that if we don't get the ethics right and the bias and all those sort of things, we need to do it properly because it's such a powerful tool that can really benefit all of us, but we need to make sure that it's done in a responsible manner. Now, I'm really interested in your sustainability side, because you recently at Old Mutual had the sustainability report. And it's so interesting that you've prioritized, it's been on your radar for a while, but you've prioritized this sustainability and the creation of solutions that prioritize people, because that's at the end of the day what's really that makes up the core of this. Because if you don't get the buy-in from the people, nothing's going to happen. Can you tell us a little bit more about this report and why you're prioritizing people when it comes to sustainability?
No, 100%. So as a listed financial services organization, we put out a set of reports that speak both to our financial investors and analysts, but also to a set of impact investors who are interested in what we're doing beyond the bottom line, the financial results. Something that the world has been agitating for, and I think it's the right thing for all companies, not just listed companies, but obviously as a listed company, we've got a significant amount of oversight in that regard. We have three things that we focus on when it comes to sustainability. Climate and climate action has been a big focus area of ours for a long time, thinking about environmental impacts. And as I discussed earlier, it's also the impacts on our clients, their portfolios, their assets, and how we cover those. The second focus area is on responsible investment. We've been quite a vocal speaker towards companies investing in more sustainable assets, companies considering their own environmental footprints and how they invest in that area, and also being more vocal and encouraging, certainly on our asset management side, companies to move to more sustainable and more environmentally responsible asset classes. The last one is financial education, something that's at the core of who we are as Old Mutual. As insurers, we are regulated and have to provide consumer financial education, which contributes towards our triple BEE outcome. But we've challenged ourselves to do more than that in terms of educating customers about financial well-being. Last week, ahead of the Singularity Summit, we launched and shared with media specifically an application that we are growing and scaling called Moneyversity Plus. Moneyversity gives all of our customers and even non-customers free access to financial education that is very much tailored to the way that people are learning today in bite-sized chunks, and it's self-paced, self-regulated. We're also starting to produce content for children to teach them the basics of financial management, like a budget, like compound interest in the most basic sense. And kids can have a gamified experience on Moneyversity Plus, whilst their parents, of course, learn hopefully some more complex matters, things pertaining to tax and tax tables, pension funds and pension fund regulation. Two-pot is obviously a theme, something that we'll probably have to build into it, and something that we want to scale across the continent. Every year, as Old Mutual, we take on a survey that we do at the moment in 4 countries. We're scaling that across all the countries across the continent that we're active in. That's called the Old Mutual Savings and Investment Monitor. That gives us a lot of insights into consumer needs, into consumer struggles and challenges, particularly in terms of how their financial behavior is evolving. Of course, we take into account the macro and other things, but more than anything, it's helping us to understand how our customers and people on the ground are either struggling or using money, and where is it that we as an insurer can step in. We really want to, our whole integrated financial services strategy has financial wellness at its heart, and we want to use financial wellness as the trigger for how we want to treat our customers and how we want to usher them through their lifetime financial goals.
That's so interesting. I mean, your last few minutes, you've been talking about this financial wellness, and I just couldn't agree with you more that it is so important. And, being a champion for financial wellness in Africa is critical. Why have you guys put such a focus on this financial wellness? And actually, how are you delivering all of this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think the first thing is that financial wellness is central to our group-wide strategy, which is integrated financial services. We believe in the value of trusted conversations. And those trusted conversations can happen in one of two ways. Either if you're intermediated with a financial advisor, the Old Mutual has the largest face-to-face advisor force in the country, and we have face-to-face advisors in the rest of the continent as well. That's a very deep and intimate conversation that you have with someone about where you find yourself, but also where you aspire to be, and they help walk that journey with you. And so we equip our financial advisors through digital means as well to be able to continue to have those trusted conversations with their customers, linking them back to Old Mutual. But also we have customers who don't want to be intermediated, who want to access a level of advice, but also financial wellness tools and also our products directly. And those normally interact with us in digital means. And so again, it's being able to bring that trusted conversation, that intimacy that we want to have with our clients by starting with a financial education initiative and being able to help them start to determine how they get to their next financial goal. We've got a number of ways that we do that, Aki. As I said, there is a face-to-face model, which is what we're most well known for, I would say, over the years, where we go into work sites in particular, whether it's hospitals, police stations, schools, and the like, and really start talking to people about the value of financial wellness and how to set basic financial goals. And once you've set your financial goals, there could be a best next step. Some people want to talk to advisors, some people want to do some research, and how we help them get there. The idea behind those conversations is not necessarily to sell a product. It is really to understand you more holistically, understand what your goals, your aspirations are for yourself, for your family, your children, and how we can best help you get there. So that's central to us strategically. And then we've been thinking about how we can scale that. And we recognize that face-to-face is important. It's intimate. It is what we have built ourselves as a competitive advantage, but it's not scalable. Certainly, you can't grow it as fast. And that's how we start getting into digital means. By now, you know, Aki, that Old Mutual will be launching a bank sometime next year, which will be a fully digital bank. And a lot of the bank is about growing that intimate relationship with customers. Because let's face it, none of us wake up and want to check our pension fund balance, but we interact with our bank on a daily basis, whether it's through an online transaction or logging on and actually performing a particular task. And so that will enable us to get, firstly, more intimate with our customers, understanding their financial behavior and their needs, and being able to step in with nudges and assistance from a financial wellness perspective, but also knowing whatever the goals that they set are and helping them be able to get there a lot quicker.
Wow. And you know, the thing is with financial wellness, when you get it and you understand it, because if it benefits Old Mutual if your customers have better financial wellness because they can have a better life in the future. But as an individual, it's so empowering to understand your financial wellness and plan ahead for the future, which is fantastic that Old Mutual is providing all these initiatives and really understanding the core at which your customers and South Africans and Africans as a whole to make improved financial decisions and understanding their financial wellness, because at the end of the day, it benefits all of us. Now, Old Mutual's integrated financial services businesses is driven heavily by technology and data-driven insights. We were talking about the AI, and I've been reading a lot about the stuff that you guys have been doing because you've really embraced this. You've taken the data, you're understanding your customers better. Why is this so important for Old Mutual to embrace technology in this way?
It's the way of the future, Aki. I think it's the way that we will learn to understand our customers a lot better. You know, insurance lags its other financial services competitors or peers when it comes to technology penetration in general. We know that. And that's because of the interaction or the frequency of interaction with customers. If we want to increase that, technology is the way to do that so that we can get front and center of customers. I did want to share another example, which is somewhat related to financial education, but very much related to what we need to do technologically to advance and progress the customer conversation. You will know that Old Mutual was in the news for unfortunate news earlier in the year when one of our customers took to Twitter to complain about a claim that hadn't been processed. And we realized very much that people are afraid of financial services because sometimes they feel like it's veiled in a lot of terms and conditions and complexity that they don't understand. So whilst financial education helps us get to the bottom of that, we feel like there's got to be a lot more that's democratized, that's easily accessible, that's digitalized, that uses technology to get it to as many people as possible. However, Aki, I think one of the things that can be underestimated by financial services providers as a whole, I don't think it's just an Old Mutual challenge, it's an industry challenge, is helping people understand what happens at claim stage. And claim stage is when, unfortunately, with insurance, something has gone wrong. Either a geyser has burst, someone has had a car accident, or unfortunately someone has passed away. And at that time, our responsibility is to really show up with care and unleash whoever's in the call center, an advisor, or any digital means that we use to show up to those people in that moment in a caring way. But technology is the best way that we can do that. Firstly, in terms of educating people about understanding what it takes to put in a good claim, and then capacitating ourselves using technology, whether it's in the call center, in the claims area, in the analysis of getting those claims paid out, and also making sure that we can pay out as quickly as possible. A stat that I shared at that time of that crisis, and certainly to media, was, in general, we process a funeral claim within hours of receiving the claim. Provided that, of course, we have all the right documents, we aim to pay within a few hours. And that's the service level that we set ourselves. Because death is never something that you can plan for. And when someone has taken out funeral insurance with us, at the time that they need it, we want to get it to them as quickly as possible. That needs tech, right? It needs our ability to be able to interface with the banking system to work correctly, but also our processing and our claims area to work very efficiently to be able to meet those customers at that time. We're doubling down on investing in that area, understanding outlier events, very much like the one that happened in the earlier this year, but also understanding the regular events that come through the system quite quickly and how we get to those as quickly as possible. With us having the customer base that we have and having the market share and size that we have in our market, a few complaints become larger than any one of our competitors just because of our sheer size and scale. That's not an excuse, Aki. It's to say that we're always recognizing the things that we need to invest in. In this instance, it's technology to help improve processing and deal with the rote and manual processes sometimes that can slow these things down. But it's really, we're running a big campaign right now talking about how much we have paid out in claims and how much we continue to pay out. And we want to try and lessen that time, certainly on the more regular cases. And that would have to do with funeral insurance and funeral cover that people take out with us, where we aim to pay certainly in less than 4 hours to our customers who put in a claim.
Wow, that's fascinating. And it's so true as you were talking about this and, this technology that's really changing everything that we're doing. But at the core of all this is to improve the customer experience and try and improve that entire process using technology, which I think is absolutely amazing. It's incredible listening to you, and it kind of aligns with with the big conference that's happening later this year, well, later this month at least. That Singularity Summit is all about exponentiality, right? And this way of looking at the future at Old Mutual kind of aligns with their thinking and that exponential way of thinking. How does this enable organizations to navigate the complexities of conducting business in 2024?
It's certainly getting harder. Actually, it's not getting any easier. And maybe I think the first thing for us is embracing technology to enable our own workforce, to enable us as leaders. That's what gets you to start thinking exponentially. And exponentialism is about multiplying. It's about growing impact. It's about scale. And so really thinking about what are the things in the bottom end of many people's roles and jobs, all of ours. What are the things that we can do to enable those so that they can happen quicker, faster, and don't need much manual intervention? And then how do we unlock and unleash the potential of people where we really shine through in things that require empathy, in aspects that require deep connection, that require strategic thinking, that need problem-solving ability. That's where we as human beings are supremely unique, right? And so being able to multiply that, many businesses and countries and lines of business that we operate in is our biggest aspiration. And we feel that the Singularity Summit is enabling us to do that, but we're also taking a whole lot of other companies and other participants along with us who will be there. We're going to have more than 200 staff with us, along with a number of our clients participating in the summit as well. And I can say internally, from a staff perspective, it's unbelievable how much excitement it's unleashed in our own people. And it's not just the most senior level of our organization. It's not just the execs or the bosses. We've run so many staff competitions and so many nominations processes to get as wide a variety of our staff as possible participating in the summit. We've also created our own staff influencers who are now having a secondary career or having a bit of a gig at the summit, who will be covering the gig on behalf of Old Mutual without having to use other people to speak about us and speak about why this is so important to us. The excitement of getting avatars loaded. Our own CEO has changed his WhatsApp profile picture, his LinkedIn profile. It's been so exciting to see, but also hearing how people are excited about the summit from a personal perspective. It means different things for different people, but certainly for all our mutualites, the excitement is palpable, and I think next week is going to be really, really exciting.
Celiwe Ross, Director of Strategy, Sustainability, People, Public Affairs at Old Mutual. Celiwe, it was such a pleasure to talk to you and understand the diverse business that you guys are in. It's absolutely fascinating how you're embracing technology and unlocking tremendous value at Old Mutual. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Aki. Thank you for having me.